The U.S. Embassy in China is evacuating American citizens from Wuhan, the center of the coronavirus outbreak. More than 1,500 cases are now reported in China, where at least 54 people have died. Here in the U.S., 63 patients have been tested in 22 states. Here's Remy Inocencio.
At Ground Zero in Wuhan, an army of excavators is in a frantic race to now build not one, but 2 hospitals to treat over 2,000 people infected with the coronavirus. As patients continue to pack into hospitals, medical supplies are running low: masks, gloves, and surgical gowns. The city's highways, train station, and airport now sit empty after officials restricted access out of the sprawling city of 11 million people. More than a dozen surrounding cities and towns, an estimated 50 million people, are now on some kind of total or partial transport lockdown. Most of the infections have been in mainland China, but fresh cases are popping up. Today, Australia and Malaysia reported their first cases, and Japan reported a third. France confirmed 3 cases on Friday, while the U.S. identified a second in Chicago.
CDC is strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China as the coronavirus continues to spread. At least 106 people have died and more than 4,500 have been infected. Hong Kong has also announced that all rail lines to mainland China will be cut before the end of the week.
Well, it's a swarm of enormous proportions. Desert locusts are eating their way across large parts of East Africa, and it's the worst outbreak some countries there have seen in 70 years. Now, here are some of the countries that are most affected by those locusts. Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya are the worst affected, and Uganda is bracing for an invasion too. Authorities have advised citizens to stock up on food as the insects approach the border with Kenya. Now, researchers say they pose an unprecedented threat to food security in some of the world's most vulnerable countries.
They eat and destroy everything on their way. One swarm measured 60 kilometers long and 40 kilometers wide. Hundreds of thousands of acres of crops destroyed. People fight back with whatever means they have.
We are more than 200 herders here, and we all depend on this land for grazing. Now it will be disastrous if we all perish without getting any help.
The swarms came from Yemen, then down from the Red Sea to the Horn of Africa. The unusual warm temperatures off the coast are partly to blame. The recent heavy rainfall has created the perfect breeding conditions. The greenery that has sprung up is now fueling them. It has almost become a desperate battle.
And it is practically impossible or mockery to intelligence of humankind that this one can be used to control swarms of billions of insects that are destroying our crops and our pasture.
Agriculture is big business in the region. Here, the Kenyan national government is now increasing their efforts and spraying from the air. The swarms are spreading fast, up to 150 kilometers a day. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization is raising the alarm, now calling for international assistance.
It's the worst that we've seen in Ethiopia, in Somalia in 25 years, and the worst that we've seen in Kenya in over 70 years.
The fear is that the locust numbers could increase 500 times in the next few months.
back, Mike. We get back.
Three American firefighters have been killed while helping to battle Australia's bushfires. Authorities say they lost contact with an air tanker in southern New South Wales, south of Canberra. Now, those on board, they had been helping firefighting efforts by dropping water over a large, out-of-control bushfire. Thanks to Shama, well, the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has been tweeting. He says, "My deepest condolences to the loved ones, friends and colleagues of those who have lost their lives. Such a terrible tragedy." Let's take a look at some of the pictures coming into us. This is a Reuters journalist tweeting. It was filmed actually near where the plane crashed in New South Wales. Let's move on. Closer to the coast this time, firefighters are battling new bushfires. They were whipped up by high temperatures and strong winds, and more homes have been lost in this area.
תרימי, אני לא יודעת, הוא בטח נפל. עווד, אתה עם טלפון? שיענה לי רגע. זה לא אמיתי. מה עושים? מה פאקינג עושים? איפה? בנכים. זהו, שלא יקרו לך עכשיו בטלפון.
הלך האוטו נראה לי.
Satu lagi. Ya Allah. Satu lagi, ya Allah. Mobilnya. Mobil gue. Ya Allah, selamat. Dua tuh. Ini nggak bisa ikut ya. Ini dicancang. Habis wah, jalan wah. Sumpahnya harus sedikit banget. Antri ganti-gantian loh.
Turkey, where at least 22 people are now dead and more than 900 injured after an earthquake in the east of the country. The quake struck near the town of Sivrica, that's about 550 kilometers east of the capital, Ankara. It was followed by dozens of aftershocks, some of them almost as strong as the initial quake. Rescue teams are now searching for survivors trapped in collapsed buildings.
The sun rose to reveal a picture of devastation. Exhausted rescue crews working their way through the rubble, searching for survivors, still pulling people from collapsed buildings. Rescuers have been battling the unfolding disaster all night. The tremors began at 9 in the evening. Terrified residents recorded the impact as the ground shook beneath their feet. Relief efforts have been hampered by aftershocks almost as powerful as the initial quake. In freezing temperatures, families became homeless overnight.
Our houses are either collapsed or damaged. We cannot go back to our village. Some people have died. I hope God will help us and give us patience. Our animals died. We have to spend the night here by the fire.
Collapsed buildings are not the only danger. The quake also sparked a fire on the roof of this house. Authorities are warning residents not to return to damaged buildings because of the risk of further aftershocks.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Tuesday night, and we have a lot to get to. We begin tonight with the frightening moments in South Florida today, the powerful earthquake. They felt it in Miami, a 7.7 magnitude quake, erupting along the same fault line that's affected Puerto Rico in recent weeks. The epicenter between Cuba and Jamaica, and you can see the school children here in Kingston, Jamaica, hiding under their desks. In Miami, workers evacuated from downtown high-rises, gathering in parking lots until they could be sure that the buildings were safe. There was a tsunami warning in the region for a time, and the concern tonight, that same fault line that's already been active. ABC's Victor Akendo leads us off from Miami.
Tonight, people evacuating from buildings in Miami as a massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake in the Caribbean rattles parts of the city.
The alarm started sounding and they were told us to go downstairs to the stairs.
We thought it was a bombing, we thought it was a shooting, we didn't know what it was.
The earthquake's epicenter more than 400 miles away off the coast of Jamaica and Cuba. School children hiding under desks in Jamaica, 77 miles from the epicenter. Others evacuated in Kingston.
Big earthquake going on, look at this.
In nearby Cayman Islands, the pool water seen rattling. The last month has been an extremely active period for earthquakes in the Caribbean. Today's quake comes just 2 weeks after a series of devastating earthquakes in Puerto Rico, which sits along the same tectonic plates.
And Victor, as you reported, they felt the effects of that powerful quake right there in Miami, where you're reporting tonight. And I know there have been aftershocks in the zone.
That's right, David. A series of them, the strongest being a 6.1. There was also a tsunami threat in the Caribbean and Central America. Thankfully, here in Miami, no one was injured.